Maybe you even worry about how to keep up with your worries. Some of you perhaps have a notebook where you list all your worries so you don't forget any of them. Some of you perhaps have a calendar. You write them on that calendar so you can worry about a specific item each day. Others maybe put a reminder on your phone so that you don't forget to worry about this particular item. So you've got your own method. You know, it gets tiresome to carry all of your worries with you. So after worrying about that, perhaps some of you came up with a really creative way to make sure that you take your worries along no matter where you go. This is something unique for you, something different, but it's effective to make sure you always have your worries along. Some of you went out and got yourself a worry wagon. Now, it's just like those little red wagons that maybe you played with when you were a kid. But instead of putting dirt and rocks and toys in it, now you pile all of your worries into it. So no matter where you go, you can take your worries right along with you. Isn't it nice to know that you don't have to ever forget about any of your worries? You got them right wherever you happen to be at that moment.
And we can arrange them.
You can arrange them, yes, because I know that they're not arranged right and it's driving you nuts.
Yeah.
So she's worried about the fact that they're not aligned perfectly. It's not even her worry wagon. Yeah. And the great thing about it is that this worry wagon, it is rather flexible. It's mobile. It's attractive. And you can probably go out like Chuck goes to car shows and compares his cars to others. Maybe you compare your worry wagon to other worry wagons when people have them. Now, you might say, well, no, Brother Van, I don't have something quite like that. Yes, you do. Yes, you've got your worry wagons. Today we're going to conclude our series titled A Thief Called Worry. We've addressed repeatedly, because it's important for us to understand, that worry is a thief that robs and ruins its victims. It will just simply take your life away when you devote it to worry. And worries, they can be over so many things. It can be over a hospital bill, a doctor bill, electric bill, tuition bill, phone bill. It could be you're worried about having groundhogs in your swimming pool, or snakes in the house, or partridges in your pear tree. You got all kinds of things you can worry about. It can be financial pressures. It can be about having flab over your waistline, flab hanging from your arms, health problems. People find lots to worry about. And it doesn't matter whether it's your job or you're jockeying for a better position, or it's your child or someone who's acting rather childish. Whatever those worries are, we toss them in our little red worry wagon and we take them along. Now, as hard as it is to imagine, some pastors worry as well. Now, you might wonder, what do pastors worry about? Well, some pastors worry about counseling. Not every pastor enjoys counseling. Well, short of skipping town, how do you decrease your counseling workload? Well, based upon some superficially plausible clinical research, here's a dozen methods guaranteed to help pastors keep counseling off their to-do list. Number one, recite tales of people who are a whole lot worse off and call the counselee a crybaby. Number two, engage the counselee's mother-in-law as a co-therapist. Take the door off your office. Sing songs to the counselee, songs such as Put on a Happy Face and Don't Worry, Be Happy. Step out of the office and just start laughing outrageously loudly. Tell the counselee that although you can't figure out a solution to the problem, you'll put it in the sermon on Sunday and see if other people have suggestions. Catch up on your reading while the counselees are bearing their deepest problems to you. Tell the counselee you're videotaping the session for replay on the local cable channel, Candid Clergy. Put a bumper sticker on your car that says, I'd rather not be counseling. Refer them to a helpful article in your favorite journal, your professional journal, the National Enquirer. Suggest counseling by email. And then finally, if nothing else works, in front of the counselee, call your spouse on the phone and ask for her opinion on what to do with it. So yeah, some pastors worry. But today I'm going to encourage you to do one simple thing, and that's to empty your worry wagon. Now, some people are probably already thinking, I don't know, how would I empty it? Because I got some of these worries that I've had for a long time, and some of them are smaller than others, right? And you say, Brother Van, I could take that along. In fact, I wouldn't have to have a wagon for that. I could put that in my purse or put that under my coat. It's not as heavy as some. You have some smaller worries, and you got some that are mid-size and they're a little bit heavier, and they're difficult too. And then there's some that are even heavier than that, and you'd like to take those with you, but I'm sort of emotionally connected to this because I had this worry for a long, long time. It's called my children. But you still don't really want to empty my worry wagon of that. And maybe you've been listening to the last 2 weeks' sermons, and maybe you've been actually working at getting rid of some worries, releasing these worries. But then you do something else. You start playing the same old recordings again and again and again. And you know what you do then? You load up your worry wagon once more. And you don't even worry about if they're stacked straight or not. You kind of feeling the pain here, aren't you? Because this is what people do. But that's not how God wants us to live. God says, I'm a God of peace. Why would I want you to live your life in turmoil, in anxiety? Why would you do that to yourself? Because that's exactly what's happening. We are doing that to ourselves when we have our worry wagon and we keep all our worries. We refuse to surrender our worries. We're doing this to ourselves. And it's not needed. God gives us explicit instructions that while we are straining and stressing and laboring and pulling our worry wagon behind us, we only have to do one thing, and that's pull it to His throne and empty the wagon there. Psalm 62:8 says, trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts before Him. God is our refuge. He is. He says, trust in Him. Well then, God, I'm trusting you to deal with these worries. They're the problems. I can't solve them. You can. You can help get me through this. I'm going to trust in you at all times. Not just the little issues, not just the minor things that are happening. At all times, trust in Him because He is our refuge. And then Micah 7:7, but I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. So I'm saying, I'm looking to you. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to your throne. I'm going to empty my worry wagon there. I'm going to look to you for solutions because I don't have them. I don't have the way to resolve this. I'm looking to you, and I know that you will hear me. So there's some things that we can concern ourselves with as we go through this morning. 3 points. First, the confession of worry. Often when people confess their sins, confess their misdeeds and their crimes, they often experience this profound sense of relief and joy because that burden is off them. But what if we confessed that we are a worrier? There are programs, Alcoholics Anonymous. There are programs for drug addicts, like Drug Addicts Anonymous. I wonder if there's one called Worriers Anonymous. Can you just see people gather around? Hi, my name is Van, and I'm a worrier. Hi, Van. We don't want to be like that. We want to confess that we are a worrier. I want to empty my wagon. That's the whole goal. But the challenge that you and I have, we want to be able to affect or control the outcome of these situations. This small one, I really would like to get rid of it, but I'm not sure how I can control that because my kids are involved. And you know how these kids are, particularly when they grow up. You can't really influence them. You sure can't control them. And I can't control them, so how do I get rid of this worry? So I just kind of hang on to that. I'd like to be able to alter, to have some impact on the outcome of this, and I can't do that. So what do? I worry. I just continue worrying about it. Someone has got some control. It's not me. All I can do is worry about it. So I continue doing that again and again and again. There's a vast difference between being concerned about something and worrying about being in control. A man named Dick Razanen said, "Dear God, I find it so easy to try to be the one in charge. I find it painful to realize that I'm not the one in control. Help me know when saying, 'I just work here,' that it is confession and not just a way of evading responsibility." What a great thought. I just work here, God. You're in control of all these problems. I'm not. I just work here. And I'm not trying to avoid responsibility. Psalm 62:8, as we said before, trust in Him at all times. We have to trust in Him at all times. Worry says, I'm in control. Worry says, I must do something to alter, to enhance, to repair the situation. Let's just confess that worry says, I do not trust God to take care of this. That's really what we're doing. I'm going to worry about it, and I'm going to ignore this verse. I don't trust you, God, that you're going to take care of this. Or not the way that it should be taken care of, like I would if I were in charge. I don't trust you. Unless you have the power within you to surrender this harmful and useless activity, you'll continue it forever. But here's the key. You do have the power within you to surrender this harmful and useless activity. And it tells us that in 2 Timothy, as Paul writes to his young protege, verse 7 of chapter 1, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." Self-control. God gave us the ability to say, I'm not going to worry about this. That doesn't mean you're not concerned. But worry is something very different. A huge difference between concern and worry. Worry is problem-oriented. Concern is solution-oriented. One blogger wrote, "Worry is ruminating about an issue that is plaguing us without actually making substantive progress in addressing the issue." Okay, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not making progress in addressing it. The dictionary supports this with the definitions such as to touch or disturb something repeatedly. How many have ever had like maybe a mosquito bite or something that was itching you? And what did you repeatedly do? You scratch it, and you scratch it, and you scratch it, and you scratch it. Did it make it better? No. When we're worrying, that's what we're repeatedly going to it, we're bothering, we're disturbing it, we're aggravating it because we are worrying rather than saying, I got to leave it alone because it's not doing any good to scratch it. If you're concerned about worrying, what's the solution? 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. God says, bring your worry wagon, empty it. I'll hold the entire load because I love you. We have to do that. Take a moment for this short video, please. Well, let's see. We do have audio, don't we? One moment. Stand by.
This is you. Are you carrying the weight of the world? Is work stressing you out? Life not all you thought it would be? I bet a lot of that weight you added yourself, making assumptions before you know the facts. Imagining the worst case scenario, caring more about people's opinion than God's. Battling the problem before it even exists. Thinking that everyone has a hidden agenda. Taking charge before God gave the green light. too proud to ask for help. Living with no plan because life might end tomorrow. Oof, that is a lot of added weight. You don't need to carry that anymore. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Philippians 4:6.
Some translations of Philippians 4:6 say, worry about nothing. Isn't that what we're called to do? How many verses have we looked at over 3 weeks where God says, I've got this. Relax. Leave it to me. We have to confess that we worry, and we have to let go of the world's weight. We have to reject worry. Nothing good comes from your worrying. Reveal the worry. Confess to yourself and to God that you have failed to trust Him. Now, we talked about expressing concern. Expressing concern is another animal altogether from worrying. Dr. Gary Collins in Christian Counseling Magazine says, according to the Bible, there's nothing wrong with realistically acknowledging and trying to deal with identifiable problems of life. To ignore danger is foolish and wrong. But it's also wrong as well as unhealthy to be immobilized by excessive worry. Such worry must be committed to prayer to God, who can release us from paralyzing fear or anxiety and frees us to deal realistically with the needs and welfare both of others and of ourselves. So it's just simply praying, God, here it is. You have to take it over. Dr. Gary Collins is saying, empty your worry wagon. Psalm 62:8, trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts before Him. God is our refuge. Now, I want you to know how God is our refuge and we can go back to Scripture because it supports this. Next slide, please. Snoopy says, keep looking up. That's the secret of life. But whom is Snoopy looking to? What did Jesus say about the birds of the air? They don't worry about the clothing or where they're going to sleep or where the next meal comes up. They're not worried about that because the Father is going to take care of them. Snoopy doesn't worry about it. Somebody's going to provide. Why should you and I worry about these things? We look up to the Father. Once you've gone to your recovering warriors meeting and confessed that you're a warrior, then and only then are we prepared for the next step, and that's to make a choice. The choice of worry. Choices in life can really be simple. President Lyndon Johnson, a number of years ago, was going to be staying overnight at the Chicago Hilton. And the staff pulled out all the stops because he's only going to be having one meal there, and that's breakfast. So they're going to do everything possible to make this just the grandest breakfast that the president has ever eaten. So at 4 a.m. they have 3 of their top chefs come in, and they plan the menu, they get everything set, and then about 7:30 when they get the call for breakfast, I mean, they're ready with anything the president could want. President Lyndon Johnson wanted cornflakes and black coffee. Choices in life can really be simple. We can choose to empty our worry wagon. Let's see exactly how these choices play out in everyday life. Josh, if you and Rachel will come up here. They're worried what's going to happen. All right, turn around and come right over here, please. There we go. All right. Now, you two, I want to ask you to do something that you've probably done this. You've seen people do that little thing called rock, paper, scissors. All right. It's 3 on 3.
I did do it.
Well, you got to put out one. You got to do something, Rachel. Well, she didn't put it out to know. Okay, so we got 2 papers there. Next.
Oh my goodness.
Again.
You didn't even do it.
Paper.
No, paper is out. You just.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, now what do we learn from rock, paper, scissors? Thank you two. Appreciate that so much. rock, paper, scissors. It's like worry in life. Rocks in life, what will they do? They'll beat you down. Scissors will cut you up. And paper just wraps you up. Worry does all those things. It will beat you up. It will cut you up. It will wrap you up. We have to understand worry doesn't accomplish a single thing for us other than paralyze us. And God does not want us to worry. He says, stop the rock, paper, scissors of worry and trust in me. If you're going to empty your worry wagon, you have to choose to reject worry. You reject other things in life, don't you? Maybe you say you reject, I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to use illegal drugs. I'm not going to drive over the speed limit. Who has said that? You have. Yeah, and what else do you fib about? She said it, but she didn't really mean it, right? Some ideas are good ideas. Other ideas need to be rejected. A gentleman's in a Chinese restaurant, and he noticed that all the place settings had forks and knives and spoons. He suggested to the waiter, said, maybe you should put chopsticks out. This is a Chinese restaurant. He said, if you actually put chopsticks out, you wouldn't have to pay someone to wash all the forks. The waiter says, well, that could be a good idea, but if we put chopsticks out, we'll have to hire 3 more people to clean up the mess. Some ideas are good ideas. Some ideas need to be rejected. A great thing you can do for yourself is to reject worry. After you reject worry, you decide to relinquish worry. Once you've rejected the idea, when you've relinquished this concept of worry, and now you want to replace it, you take your concerns to Jesus. Next slide, please. There we go. Psalm 55:22, cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved. Now, some people misinterpret that last phrase, he will never permit the righteous to be moved, and they say, this is why this is my pew, my seat on the pew, because the righteous will not be moved. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. That means choosing to leave worry behind when you empty your worry wagon. What does leaving look like? Leaving something look like from a biblical perspective? Leaving things. First is fleeing from sin. When Potiphar's wife attempted to seduce Joseph, what did he do? He fled. He grabbed his coat, attempted to, but she was holding on to it. So he left the coat and he left his master's wife. Genesis 39:12. She grabbed him by his garment and said, sleep with me. But leaving his garment in her hand, he escaped and ran outside. Sometimes you have to flee from sin. You have to follow the Lord. Peter and Andrew were called to follow Jesus. Matthew 4:18 through 20. And I've got the wrong one there. What do we have there? As he was walking along the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the sea since they were fishermen. Follow me, he told them, and I will make you fish for people. Immediately they left their nets and followed him. Are there some people in that day and time, if Jesus said, follow me, they've been worried about this. Why would they have been worried? This is a family business. It's a lawful business. It's a profitable business. It's sustaining them, sustaining their larger family. Would you be worried about that? When you go into ministry, do you worry about the money? Sometimes you have to be concerned about that. When Lynn was originally called to the SBC, she had interviewed at Two Rivers Church for a secretarial position, and the pay cut from corporate world to that was just enormous. So she couldn't take that job. When she was offered this position at the executive committee, we both prayed about it, and we came up within $1 of what it would be for her to go. And it was a pay cut too. But God said go. You see, that's the thing. When you are called to worship, when you're called to serve, when you're called into ministry, you're looking at a choice. You could worry about these things. In this case, It was a choice between staying in this lawful family business or following the Lord. And when we face a choice like that, the preference must be that we follow Him. No matter what, we must follow Him. So you have to flee from sin, follow the Lord, and then next, be fascinated by Christ. We see when the Samaritan woman met Jesus at the well, and she discovers that this is the Messiah, this is the real Messiah, what did she do? She forgot. She forgot what she's there for. She left her jar. We're talking about leaving things. She left her water jar, went into town, and told the men. She forgot her purpose in being there, to fill the water jar, take it back. She forgot all about that. She was so fascinated with Jesus. Are you and I as fascinated with the Lord that we would forget all these other side distractions and things that keep us from focusing on what we should? We have to flee from sin, follow the Lord, and be fascinated with Christ. So we have the confession of worry, the choice of worry, and then the cure of worry. If you have a medical condition, you're going to go to your doctor. You're going to see your doctor. And after talking with you, maybe conducting some tests, your physician will perhaps prescribe a medication. They're going to write you that prescription. And you're going to probably go back and get the medicine and take the medicine as prescribed because you trust them, right? That's the whole idea of going. But what medical advice does a great physician offer someone who suffers greatly from the ailment of worry? Micah 7:7, but I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. You look to your doctor for medical advice, and we should certainly look to God, the great physician. What else might come from the great physician's prescription pad? To wait for results. Psalm 27:14, wait for the Lord. Be strong and courageous. Wait for the Lord. Just as Micah said, I will wait for the God of my salvation. Here we're told, wait for the Lord. When you take that medicine that your doctor has recommended, that your doctor has prescribed, how many of you expect to have it go down your throat and be instantly healed? Are they worrying when it's not healing them immediately? Don't you have to wait for this medication to get into your system? Sometimes it will take 2 or 3 days to get enough in for it to start impacting the medical condition you're dealing with. We have to wait. How many of us are impatient? Probably most of us. Because when it comes to the things we worry about, I want it fixed now. And maybe that's why we don't trust God, because it's not fixed immediately. What will it take to empty your worry wagon? Allow me to quote William Shakespeare, to be or not to be. What he's really saying, to be worried or not to be worried, that is the question. The commands of the Lord are always imperative. They leave no choice for us but to follow His advice. What does He tell us? To be holy. In 1 Peter 15:16, but as the one who called you is holy, you also are to be holy in all your conduct. Next slide, please. For it is written, be holy because I am holy. Okay, did Jesus worry? Did Jesus worry about His disciples? Did He worry when He sent the disciples ahead to get the donkey, the burro, to ride in on for the Last Supper? Did He worry about those things? Did He worry about where He was going to sleep, where He was going to eat? Did He worry about what these guys were going to do once He had ascended to heaven? Did He worry about any of that? He could be concerned. If you go back to His time in the Garden of Gethsemane just before He's crucified, what's He doing? Sweating drops of blood. He was concerned. But He said, God, not my will, but yours. If you want my kids to move to the other side of the country because that's where you want them to be, okay, it's not my will, it's yours. I can live with that. I may not like it, but I can live with it, and I'm not going to worry about it. We are to be holy, and that means if I want to be as Christ-like as possible, I'm not going to be a worrier. I'm supposed to be holy because I'm told to do that because He is holy. Philippians 4:6, don't worry about anything. Be holy. Be perfect. 2 Corinthians 13:11. Next slide, please. Finally, brothers, rejoice. Become mature. Be encouraged. Be of the same mind. Be at peace. And the love of God and peace will be with you. Now, to be perfect, we're being commanded here to be perfect. So it says, rejoice. Do you ever have some days, some moments when rejoicing's not easy to do? Finally, brothers, rejoice. Become mature. Be encouraged. Be of the same mind. Be at peace. And the God of love and peace will be with you. So these are things that we're to do as we're striving toward the perfection. And we know we'll never achieve perfection this side of heaven. In Matthew 6:25, Jesus tells his followers, don't worry about your life. Be holy. Be perfect. Be still. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. But we just tend to keep piling on the worry wagon. I need one with bigger wheels. I need one that's got hydraulic assist. I need one that actually, Nancy, do you have a trailer hitch on your scooter there?
I have needed one.
Exactly. So she could pull a bigger worry wagon behind her. Be still and know that I am God. Jesus is speaking again in John 14:1, instructs, do not let your heart be troubled. You see, this is a choice. Do not let your heart be troubled. God wants you to empty your worry wagon. Instead, desires for you to be blessed. How can you be blessed? It comes down to the singular approach to life that we find in Jeremiah 17:7. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. I'll be blessed when I will empty my worry wagon. This is a choice. Rosemaria Von Trapp, one of the famous Sound of Music children, had this to say about her very famous parents, Baron George and Maria Von Trapp. They fled Nazi-occupied Austria instead of cooperating with the Nazis. She said, only yesterday I talked to high school students, sophomores, who were doing a research paper on the Holocaust of Hitler in Germany. They wanted me to talk about the Nazis. I told them that Hitler gave us a symbol of a cross with hooks on it. But our Christian faith gives us a symbol of a cross that brings freedom and resurrection. The world, you know, offers us a glossy cross with hooks in it. My father and mother had to make a choice. They chose the cross of Christ. We will be blessed by choosing the cross of Christ and not the cross that's got the hooks of the world in it. Worry is one of the hooks that the world throws at you to try to steal your well-being, to steal your witness, and to steal your works for God. When you look to the Lord and wait for the God of your salvation, when you choose the cross of Christ, you choose a blessed life, an abundant life, an eternal life, a life without worries. I would encourage you to spend some time, if you've got access to a computer, go back and watch these 3 messages. They're going to be out on the internet for some time. And maybe when you find yourself loading your wagon up again, go back and revisit one of these and see what God's got to say about this concern that we have and how we've allowed that concern to turn into a worry.